speaking about the ecological fund, because from its nomenclature, it looks to be all-encompassing. Sometime in March, the Senate did ask for a probe of that fund. What was the outcome? Because there are lots of questions being asked about the function or functionality of that office.
I think that's the issue now. The issue now is that we need to apply that fund as regards to the challenges of today. It was set up at the time where the challenges of that time is different from the challenges of today, and we must look inwards and ask ourselves whether it is best being applied. Is there any amount set aside for flooding, particularly erosion, desertification? What are the principles that guide how those funds are allocated to different sectors or different problems? And how do we reduce the administrative bottleneck in access to those funds? So definitely we need to look and review that, how best we're doing that. I think that's going to take a lot of work and take a lot of input from key stakeholders. Those are the kind of things we need to do immediately to prepare ourselves and make our responses to this kind of disasters more efficient.
Do you think the office needs to be restructured? Because questions also arise as to why is it in the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation? Should it be an agency? All these intervention agencies collapse into one such that they can properly respond and then their funds be done by appropriation?
Well, I think that is one of the suggestions we need to look at. I don't think we should dwell too much on whether it's in SGS office or that. I think those are the issues that people tend to really talk about. But I think it's more about the structure of utilization of those funds, the process by which projects are selected, what are the priorities, how subjective are they, how transparent is the process. I think those are the issues really that, to me, matter. But I think to do that, we must open that debate for all stakeholders to contribute, and that is what we hope to do very soon as we continue to review the bills like the Ecological Commission bill that is before us.
Perhaps maybe, Adando, you should tell us what exactly the Ecological Fund is meant for, because as it is now, even though we're talking about that fund, it's just a name, and sometimes most Nigerians don't have the faintest idea of what it's meant to do or meant for.
Well, I think I think that the funds as it is now does address a lot of ecological issues. I mean, ranging from erosion, desertification, flooding. But the argument has always been is that is it effectively being utilized? Do the Nigerians generally have an understanding of how it operates? Because in the absence of that, then people assume that it has no impact. Thirdly, are some of the projects under that scheme being effectively completed and done properly? So those are the issues. And I think if it's more transparent and people have more access to how it's done, it is appropriated, for example, and people can see what those projects are being utilized for, then I think there'll be better understanding by people generally. I think it would be wrong to say that it is not doing anything at all, but it could be right to say that they can be more effectively be utilized, the funds that can be more effectively utilized and can be more transparent.
You know what, we say this because people would still want to know why we haven't heard anything about the funds being used for some other issues, ecologically speaking. Take, for example, Edo State government has just issued 100 million naira to see how they can mitigate the effect of this disaster. But we haven't heard anything from those or the managers of that fund.
But you see, those are the difference really between state administration sometimes and federal government. It's sometimes the administrative bottlenecks that I talked about. I would like that it's now over 72 hours since the flood in Kogi State, and I believe that at the federal government level, people should also be aware of the kind of funds being released to relieve a lot of the victims of this. There are many mechanisms by which government can access funds for this. And part of the implementation is also the communication strategy to get it across to the people that government can release funds for different sectors. So the ecological fund allows that. Well, the issue again is that, as I say, the processes and the procedures in getting those funds out needs to be improved upon.
Well, you are the Senate Committee Chairman on the Environment, and we want to believe that you have oversight functions over the Ministry of Environment. How would you describe your relationship with them, and are you satisfied with the level of work that they have been carrying out so far?
Well, we are carrying out oversight functions, but as you might be aware, there's always been a lot of concerns about projects on the environment, not starting this year or last year, over the years. And that is why people are always skeptical about the implementation of some of these jobs. We, last year, when we reviewed the 2011 implementation, came up with the concept that funds that were being used for a lot of these projects did not take a project to completion. The little funds available were being distributed among jobs, and at the end of the day, if you had an erosion project, for example, which should be completed in 15 months, for example, because lack of funding and proper planning was spread over 3 years. But definitely what will happen is at the end of the first year, by the time the rainy season comes again, pretty much really what's happened is that the money you spent the year before already, I mean, you've kind of wasted it because you're starting all over again. So you find out that some of these projects are really not being properly managed. We're hoping that ongoing projects can be completed. Contractors that are competent enough are the ones that are selected to do that. And our oversight function this year is to ensure that it is projects that can be completed, have been properly selected with drawings and planning that are picked up. There has to be a shift, really. I agree with you that it's not satisfactory, but don't get me wrong that it's not satisfactory that started in the last few months. It is unfortunately a pattern that has existed in this sector for a while, and I think that it's something that we need to address. Otherwise, there's lack of confidence that funds on the environment or ecology are not being utilized. There's no doubt about that, and I don't think anybody will try and defend that. But I believe that we can, if we begin to plan better and see that some of these funds, no matter how little they are, let them apply to jobs that will see completion, as opposed to a lot of jobs that at the end of the day they're ongoing, and they're ongoing for years. That never get completed because once you miss the period of completing it, and the next year comes in, then you're back to square one.
Well, the states do have a lot of role to play here. I mean, in that report, the Minister of the Environment was talking about how do people get to build on floodplains. How well or otherwise do you think the states have played their part in this regard?
Well, I think that's a good observation on our part. And I think definitely the states particularly has to ensure that they do not, allocate lands to people on floodplains. I mean, that definitely, and not only that, and also construction, ensuring that they don't give planning permission again to areas that will further compound the problem. So there's no doubt about that, states and local government can play their own role in the area of prevention of some of those problems.